Hawaiians against Trump. It was like all of the immigrants who were older that have been here occupying longer crying and telling the police chief and the police commission board that don't listen to what Donald Trump says. And we're so afraid of ICE when, they all know when I'm standing in front of them, I was beaten, almost to death by the HPD here in Hawaii. So, we had been going in last year as the case developed when they attacked me in broad daylight for the mission of ending human and child trafficking in Hawaii and being able to connect the dots and sharing that with people and creating events for people to come to and educate them to. There was four board members, and so, we went in with a handful of us, and each of us, you only get 3 minutes, and then you don't get to respond. So you have to make a very big impact when you go there and make sure you. Well, first and foremost, I thought I was just signing in, but everybody who signed in was going to speak.
Huh.
Well, Lori, the chairperson, after we had to wait 2 hours, because usually we're all done talking in the beginning. So they changed the format, right? So that they get to talk about what they want to talk about first. And then whoever's left around, they can go and do their little 3 minutes. And so there was new
Because they
board
don't
members there.
actually care what we have to say, huh?
Well, fascists don't care,
Nah.
right? And when your government is a corporation full of dead people without souls, they don't care, which is what people don't understand yet, right? Because they're dripping the whole process on them. So last year we put a lot of things on top of the website. Shelby, he put a lot of information on there
Shelby
talking
Billionaire.
about,
That's his real
yeah.
name, folks. Billionaire.
Well, his real name is Shelby Brown.
Oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. No, I
Or
mean,
his
I got
human
on a
traffic
plane
name.
with him and he
His
pulls out his
human
ID
traffic
and it
name.
says billionaire on the ID. He
Well,
legally
anybody can
changed
change their
it to
name.
billionaire.
Anybody can change their name if they want to, right? If they
Yeah.
really want to, they can go change their
But not
name.
everybody got the cojones to change their last name to billionaire. So credit to
Right,
him.
right. And so, you know, he's put a lot of things on the record for the police commission and the city council meetings. They go a lot more frequently than we do. I went to go support somebody who's been extremely traumatized by the same officers that violated my rights and pulled me out of the Mercedes and without a warrant and threatened all kinds of stuff and tried to harass
Mm.
me, humiliate me, and all of that. But we'll get
So,
the
for the
civil
folks
lawsuit
that
pumped
don't know,
eventually.
just quick recap: Kalea Kana, the one on the podcast right now, was tased 4 or 5 times by some corrupt officers in the Honolulu Police Department on May 5th of 2025. After they kidnapped her, yep, that's what happens when police just grab you and throw you in a squad car and take you somewhere unlawfully. It's called kidnapping. When they kidnapped her and we didn't know where she went, then I called 911 and to demand a wellness check on her, and I recorded that call. We have not yet released that to the public, but yeah, we've got it all saved in our little Dead Man Switch network. I call it the DSN. We are not suicidal. We're very happy
Not
to be
suicidal.
breathing. Yeah, but if not us, then who? Who is going to stand against this corrupt evil and put their neck out there and their life on the line? Somebody's got to do it. Otherwise, you're going to be living under the boot of these clowns who are obviously unqualified to do their jobs.
I mean,
Right? Look
super
at
unqualified. I
Hawaii
mean, they've
right
been
now with these
unqualified.
floods.
Right. Well, and then now, because Department of Homeland Security is down, Josh Green can't ask for FEMA money, right?
Mm,
Because that's what they usually do. They ask the federal government to bail them out for their war crimes.
right.
And so that's another thing, is what people don't understand. It's like, being hunted where you're the person that was born and raised here. If our ancestral ties to the land, and then hearing your own people who are dressed in officer uniforms talk to you as if you were below them,
Right.
and then already have a premeditated plan of attack. Because again, we haven't released all the video footage that we have, but they're not releasing all the video footage that they have for complete discovery while they try to frame me for assaulting a police officer in the
Right. Even
first
when you
degree.
try to legally compel them to release the evidence, like any normal case, you're not asking for anything. But anyway, we maybe shouldn't talk too much about that publicly because we do want to prosecute the corrupt parties later.
Well, and it's going to be higher than just us prosecuting it in the lower courts, which now let me give you guys a little bit more information. So, in the discovery of this case, in case 554, my case,
Mm-hmm.
that was transferred from 1337 illegally and unlawfully from the district court to the First Circuit. Now we have a petition for extraordinary writ in their system. So we went in pro se suri juris, and we already know they have a problem with it. There's a pattern, even in the Supreme Court. There's a judge, Kevin, I think it's Thompson. I got to go
Okay.
back and look. But there's a pattern that our investigators on our private consulting team have figured out that anytime they always want you to go to a Zionist handler from the Good Old Boys Club, that's, the bar, right?
Mm.
And so their immediate response to try to get every individual who gets a traffic ticket or some type of criminal catch case, right, is to go through somebody from the bar,
Mm.
right? And then they have to try to tell you that you're not mentally unstable before they let you go in pro se.
The
And so you
bar is
fight all of that
British
too.
accreditation. What is it?
British Accreditation Registry.
There we go.
Yeah. So Hawaii State Bar Association is not a judiciary. They have Hawaii doesn't have a judiciary.
And they
Okay,
try to throw
since
you in jail if you go use the law on your own or something like that and say that you're
yeah,
practicing law without a license. But they're a private
right,
corporation, which means that they're running a monopoly on the legal system here.
which is a racket, right? Which
Yeah,
is
racketeering.
anti-RICO.
Uh
Yeah.
oh. You guys is
Uh
going to jail. Oh, and
So
what
that's when
our friend Carl from Clean House Hawaii discovered that none of these judges have taken their oath of office in the past 50 years or something like this?
yeah, since 1972 on the record, for the record, in their own records, right? Because somebody who doesn't want to be in their system, we still have to know. They expect us to know their system, right? Or if we
Right.
don't know them, but they also know because it's a science that we don't know it because they didn't teach us this shit in K through 12,
Yeah, it
right?
was
They taught us
willfully left
all the
out of
other
our
stuff.
education system in general.
Correct. So
Hmm.
it's intentional, right? And so if you don't know and you're not somebody who normally gets in trouble, all of a sudden at 45 years old, you're being arrested for a crime you didn't commit. You're being beaten to a pulp. You're in a wheelchair when you're done. And then you're kidnapped for days. And then,
You
you
had
get
two
the.
black eyes for months. I remember that. Yeah.
So, in our case, we also put it on the record from case 583, which is Carl's case, right? And there's also 15, I think it's 1597 is another one of his cases. And so he had already, since basically the 2021 or 2022 election, Carl's already been setting these things up without a bar registered license because the Sixth Amendment, if you're an American citizen, gives you the opportunity to practice the law,
Right.
right? And then but the purported government here is cock blocking you from practicing that unless they terrorize you and threaten you like I was threatened in the courtroom, you know and I was encouraged repeatedly to try to get a public defender if I couldn't afford an attorney. Well, as you know, Andrew, my cases were my previous cases, and why I started the mission. My kids were abducted from me through the state of Hawaii's family court system, right?
Oh, and
And
I want to
they
outline
never.
for everybody with my own mask violations. I had my issues with the public pretender's office because there's a conflict of interest. These guys want to scratch the backs of the judges and the district attorneys and the prosecutors because they themselves someday want to achieve those levels. And the public defender's office is the bottom rung of the whole hierarchy. Are you still
Right.
there, Calais?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, yeah, I had a weird issue with my sound changing, and I'm getting a little bit of glitch going on with the video feed. You're frozen here. But yeah, carry on.
Well, and then there's just since 2020, since the COVID pandemic, happened, and the New World Order and their agenda, da 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 da. They started rolling out these things and making, like Josh Green's making a whole bunch of. He signed the most emergency orders. He signed more emergency orders than Donald Trump did as the president than he has as the governor, right?
Right, there's something weird there, folks.
Right. And everybody that he's appointed is now being investigated, especially these judges who are stealing kids through the Biden administration, through the courthouses.
And
and separating
CPS, Child
families.
Protective Services. It's all a big
Correct.
human trafficking racket, folks. Not
And
allegedly.
so, like I've been home now for 8 years. I've done my own discoveries. I've tied it all together, and no, it's undisputable that it goes back to the overthrow of Queen Liliuokalani in this phase,
Mm.
right? And so if you look at Dole and Brigham Young and all of these people in U.S.
Brigham
public,
Young.
right? U.S. Public Joint Resolution 103-150, when you start putting everything together, the level of war crimes that were committed, and then kind of piece it together. And then, if you're in Puerto Rico or anywhere else where these territories were taken over by pedophiles during that timeline, many people were like me, censored, put to death, all of those types of things. So as we call it out now for what it really is, you know, it's shocking people. But now that the Epstein files have been released, again, I can tie Bill Clinton back to the Epstein files. I can,
Mm.
right? And if you're doing a public confession without an apology, then there was no resolution for Hawaii and then they continue to pursue occupation, right? Um, and so when you look back at it like that, and then you talk about military law, and you talk about this, that, and the other, and Geneva and Hague conventions, if they're going to follow the rules of the international court, then deoccupying Hawaii with illegal immigrants that were brought in through an occupation is the right thing for the United States, or what should be the Republic of America,
Republic
if
of
they brought it back. Right?
America. F yeah. Come to
But
save. Oh,
you know,
sorry.
but look what's happening in Congress. They're protecting themselves.
Yeah.
They're voting not to release their sexual harassment cases from all these puppets for the pedophile elite that are in purported governments that are paid by the pedophile elite.
Right.
Right? They're calling them elite, but they're really psychopaths, sociopath,
Cultists. I just call them
child
disgusting
fuckers.
Luciferian, Babylonian, Baal worshipping freaks that don't have any moral compass whatsoever. Reptilians.
No,
I don't know if they have actual reptile DNA in them, but their brain is, yeah, they don't have any, what's the word, empathy for, or human feelings. People who are
no,
hungry for power like that, they have nothing going
no.
on there.
And then they all think that they're actually working for money, but fiat currency is blood money.
Yep.
Anything that was printed from the Federal Reserve after it was taken off the gold standard is a debt. And so every citizen is being basically trafficked through corporate documents that were created at their birth certificate and then, trafficked to actually the Vatican and Europe. But people don't, because they don't understand how money works. They don't understand how it was created. They don't understand who the central banking families are. They're not pinning it all together. But, for us, we've kind of done a lot of research about it. And, we understand that there was a lot of conspiracy theories against humanity who are all victimized of this, not just the Hawaiians, the other people from all over the world. But the reality is the last 350 years, 400 years, it could all be pinned to
Mm.
particular groups, right? At this point, and then it was a family grooming style, right?
Yeah, since birth, like Justin Trudeau's twin brother that we didn't find out about. It turns out all these conspiracy theories are not theories.
No, they're just conspiracies that are
Just
being
conspiracies, yeah.
exposed. Yeah, they're just being exposed. That's all. From the people that were being deceitful and lying. And, a lot of people respect power without even looking at the background of it happening. And so that's why a lot of
Right.
people in business, they trip out on me because people want to give my organization money, but I won't take money that comes from pedophiles.
Mm.
And so, I was having a business call
It
the other
goes
day with a
deep,
group.
folks. The owls hidden on the bills in the US dollars, all the symbols in the eye, like the triangle thingy, like, hello, it's all written there to give us notice. Yeah, it's all, they took away the gold, right? They came at gunpoint and said, yeah, you got to give up your gold and here's some fake paper money.
Yeah, we have millions of metric tons of gold that was here before they pirated Hawaii. And then they went and they lived off the gold. They started making debt instruments with it and this, that, and the other.
Mm.
And then it's like, oh, well, we got to go help the Hawaiian people now. Well, no, we want 90% of what you make, not 10% since you stole everything. But no, we actually want all of our shit back.
Speaking
And
of
that's how
this
everybody has to
legendary
think.
gold of Hawaii, like I keep hearing little like rumors, Philippines too, and a few other places. Like there's like
Yeah.
they're holding like this old royalty gold or whatever it is,
Yeah,
and
Marcos's gold is here too. Part of Marcos's gold is here in Hawaii.
one of our federal postal judge friends told me, she looked me right in the face and she swore that she has laid eyes on this Hawaiian gold herself.
Well, one batch, but there's several batches, and of course they're not going to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and ultimately, when everything else crumbles or falls down, if there's an EMP or like the crypto blockchain goes down, then physical gold will still reign. If we have the great solar flash or whatever it is, silver and gold, I think, will be used for commerce. We'll go back to like a prison economy or like island economy where you're
Well, if you
trading
actually go back,
chickens for taro or what's that?
if yeah, if you just go back to tradition, ancient Hawaii, we didn't need money. We were a community of people who knew each other. We knew our neighbors. We knew our family members. We had land from the apua at the top to the bottom, right?
Right.
But when they erase or cancel your stuff and then they abduct it and then they reteach it to you in the form that they want you to learn it in school,
Oh, like how
it
people
all
got
goes out the
beaten
window.
for speaking Olelo Hawaii, and like once you forget your language, you also forget your land titles and your lineage and who you are.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, okay.
And after 133 years, we're supposed to be extinct. That
And
was the
I love the pidgin language. It's I try for learn, but like at the same time I see that as a like a colonial. I sound like a liberal now, but I mean it's true. It was a colonial weapon to like remove like the higher orders of thinking from people's minds in a very 1984 George Orwell type of way, because
yeah.
when you simplify the grammar, like that's why treaties are written in French, because French is very very like good at specifically saying everything that they really mean. And Olelo Hawaii, but like the what little I understand of the language, makes it very clear to me that yeah, it's banned for a reason. Like that movie where the aliens came down and they taught people the new language or their language, and then it completely changed like how physics even works for them. It sounds crazy, folks. We're going down the rabbit hole here. But yeah, the Lemurian language is a connection to a higher consciousness. And what I've been told by our other friend who healed my foot, the Hawaiian medicine man, when I got hurt on Oahu. Thank you for Calais for putting me up for a week or two over there.
That was Paul Kella and Hiva Hiva.
Yeah, and like I asked him to teach me Olelo, and he's like, "Dude, I don't speak what everybody else around here is speaking. I speak the old original language." Like, oh, okay, so there's like a matrix within a matrix there. Yeah, you think you're
Yeah,
learning
there's yeah,
Hawaiian, but you're not. You're
you're
learning
not. No.
like the
You're
watered
learning the
down
new
version.
Hawaiian. Yeah, yeah. So you're learning the Hawaiian after the British went do one treaty with the Hawaiian kingdom back in the day. But
Right.
before Kamehameha, there were there were Kanaka, there were, people all throughout Polynesia. And this is our, what we know, this is Mu, this is Lumeria. We know we're from the stars. We have our own creation story, our Kumulipo.
Right.
And it's from here, not from foreign places. And
Mm-hmm.
so we know that there are stargates here. We know there are all of these different things. We know, and you've been to a lot of places with me that a lot of people cannot come to because you have to be vibrationally aligned. It's not about your
Yeah.
race,
Ain't
right?
that
It's
the
not about
truth?
your
I tell
race.
people, like, you come to Hawaii as a tourist, you don't really see Hawaii. You see like this surface level, and there's so many places that I wish I could go, but I ain't stepping foot there without an invite. And I'm willing to work for it for 5 years, for 10 years to get that invite. Yeah,
Well,
and
you got
I've
invited
seen
by
amazing
us.
places, and like, whew, yeah, when
Mhm.
it started raining on us at the Heiau there on Kauai, that was wild. I don't
And
know if
so
I'm
like,
ready to share that story
no,
publicly.
we'll do it at another time.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. Yes,
But you know,
Hawaii has profoundly changed my life, made me like much closer connected to the earth, the Aina, to Keakua, Io, the one creator that created this whole illusion, this physical reality that we live in or appear to live in.
so, when they wiped out the language of the ancients, even before Kamehameha, after Kamehameha, because they did it, because at that point, the English language, they had to try to translate what we had, and then they had to try to make it sound like something that they could understand
Could
and
process,
pronounce,
yeah.
which, right. So, now when we reflect back and we look at that, like that's why there's like us, we cannot take our genealogy, who we are out of this, right? And we don't want to become citizen slaves of the world.
Mm.
And so then you get categorized as an extremist, a terrorist, a nationalist. But it's like, no, we just don't want to be corporate slaves to a corporate cabal that
Right.
are ran by reptilians and, child eaters and child sex traffickers and, funding both sides of the war and then having their political puppets come out and talk about this, that, and the other so that they can keep people distracted so that they can slow drip the amount of trauma that goes on to people so that they can still have people working for them,
Yeah.
instead of, you know what I mean?
Oh,
So
classic
people are,
case of like a child abuser or like a spouse abuse. You know, they don't do it all at once. It's like a frog in water, just slowly, slowly, drip, drip, drip. Squeeze people just enough that they're not gonna stab you in. Sorry, yeah. Anyway,
or that they'll just keep on going to work to pay the bills
yeah.
for the pedophiles. That's it. It's very simple when
If
you
you're
really
paying
break it
taxes,
down.
you're paying pedophile,
Right.
organized pedophile system.
Right. And if you're working for the government of Hawaii, you are a supporter and complicit in it. If you work for the state of Hawaii, if you work for the city and county of Hawaii, all of it, that is your legacy.
Yeah. Oh, and it wasn't it. That's basically what you said to the Honolulu police that were there. I mean, you had a camera in one hand and a cigarette in the other hand, and said, "Hey, you guys work for satanic pedophiles." And then they're like, "All right, taser, taser, taser!" Like, whoa, that escalated quickly, huh? What
Subjected to
the?
my lawful orders. Yeah, real lawful.
Right?
like,
Like,
well,
wow, that was
and I
totally
fight all of
uncalled
them.
for.
I repatriated under under U.S. federal codes. You know what I mean? Like I told them that they're like, oh, she's acting like a sovereign citizen. Oh,
Yeah,
she's
show me a
acting like
law
a.
book that has sovereign citizen written in it
That
somewhere.
is the most ridiculous. That is like a hypo. It's like what oxymoron.
Yeah, like calling
It
somebody a conspiracy theorist just to marginalize and discount them.
or calling a state a sovereign state. There is no such thing because
Yeah.
you're theologically controlled by the Vatican.
Yes.
Okay, well, how many states, how many countries or whatever call themselves a sovereign state? A lot. And you know why? Because their money system ran through all of the different challenges and changes,
Yeah, when did the
right?
Pope ever have the power to tell any king of England that he could control all of the land and the earth? Oh, yeah, look
That's
up
what they did.
ecclesiastical law, folks. Sounds boring, all this legal stuff, until you really need it and you find out the lawyers don't work for you.
Well, they're liars,
Yeah,
right? Because
liar.
they're right. And then they're supposedly swearing an oath to the United States Constitution here and the Hawaii State Constitution here. But that's another thing. If you try to ask them for that shit, they'll obstruct your
Evident,
justice. They
evident,
don't pull it
evident,
out.
evident. Yeah,
I mean, you need a license to drive. Keep it on you at all times. But we come to court without our license. We keep it on a plaque somewhere else. But well,
yeah,
freaking produce it.
yeah.
Here's the UIPA request because you guys don't have a FOIA
So
request in
they
the
they
state.
stacked a jury with 12 people, right? And all
12
12 of them
zombies.
said Calais is guilty of assaulting an officer when 4 of them went in your car, tased you, choked you from behind, rear naked choke. I mean, if somebody's choking me from behind, my teeth might accidentally get on their arm, or I might intentionally do it and black out. I don't know. 4 people attack me, I might not be responsible for what happens to them next. That's a
Well,
reminder. Anybody who wants to come at me, I don't know if I know kung fu. I don't know if I know judo. Judo know I got a knife. Judo know if I got a gun. But look at my eyes. I'm crazy and I might lose it, dude. And I black out. I don't remember what happened. Okay, So like, yeah,
I mean, they were literally screaming, "Why won't she fucking pass out?" You know
right.
why? Because the Mercedes had a lightning strike package, which grounded their tasers partially. And then my
Mm,
ancestors and my creator was there, right? To protect me at that time. And then they did all the other things to try to cover it up. And they tried to hide everything inside their system and every letter, every we did everything that a person would do to get the discovery, to get all the information. We did the reporting, we did all the state and the city and county found nothing wrong with these people and what they were doing with the police and what they were doing and how they went about it and all this stuff. So unless you're ready to go up against them like that, right? And remember, when you go and you get a bar registered attorney, you get what you pay for is what they claim. But at the end of the day, I've already paid over 600,000 to bar registered attorneys here in this state for my kids' cases. Okay,
yeah.
but that's when crypto was lower, right? Because my assets are not fiat dollars, right? My assets are clean printed digital currency inside of a trust, inside of the ministries, inside of protected upon protected. And everybody wants me to just be like, cash it out, cash it out. It's like, no, I want you to stop using pedophile money. I want
Mm.
you to stop using debt instruments, right? I want you to stop giving them the acquiescing to what you don't know, because the first thing they tell you is go get an attorney.
Yeah, and as soon as
The
you
judge
get
in
an
my
attorney,
case,
then you've entered into their trap.
correct. And whether you pay 10,000, $1,000 an hour, or you pay nothing from the public defender's office, right?
Yeah.
You're still inside of the system.
Yeah, and even
And
then, I kept firing all my public defenders and basically forced the state to hire a real attorney, defense attorney. And they tried to tell me, like, the judge is like, yeah, you're going to be on your own then. I'm like, oh, really? What about Marbury versus Madison? Blah, blah, blah. I don't
right.
remember what it is now. And she's like, pulls off her mask. I just trying to help you. Like, yeah, that's right. You're trying to help me. Get me a lawyer. Like, I don't care.
Right.
It's a parking ticket, dude. If I go to jail for 30 days because of, like, what do you call it? When you're disruptive in court, what do they call that?
Contempt.
Yeah, contempt of court. Like, okay, I'll take that. That'll be my badge of honor. Yeah,
Well, I never
because
even
make me
got
a
any.
martyr, you
I
dummy.
never
You
even
put me
got
in
any
jail. See
contempt
what
of court.
happens.
They never got me, but you could hear the prosecutor. I mean, it was interesting too for my case to watch when the trial took place, the fake trial, because as people know, like, uh, we'll get back to that part, but when the fake trial took place, because they didn't want to give me an attorney next, right? So they
Yeah,
wouldn't
they
let me
denied due
represent my,
process. Wouldn't let him in the
right? They
courthouse, right?
did. They never gave me all of the discovery. Then they sat there, and this is all on the record. Now, granted, I've already requested the written transcripts 3 times,
Hmm.
right? They're not
Yeah.
giving it to me, right? And they don't know what we're going to do because we put it on. If anybody wants to study a case from top to bottom, coming in on the constitutional pro se side of things, 1 CPC 25-00000554. And you're going to find out that it comes from 1 CPC 25-0001377. Okay. And then what we're really going to find out, because of what they're doing and how they're doing it, is that these judges, these clerks, and the prosecutor's office are opening up illegitimate bonds in partial people's names,
Hmm.
okay, using whatever information they have inside of their system, whether it's right or wrong. Because remember, my alias is my sister, because the biological kid's father put her name down as my alias, knowing she had criminal cases that and she served, right? But that's how he got the TRO after being denied 2 days before, is he put her name on police reports and court documents,
Hmm.
and then they came when it was expired 67 days past the date, because he was banging Ashford and Riston's Adrian Shimonishi Elkine, and then they put crazy wacko child transgender supporter judge Rebecca Copeland initialized the
Hmm.
case. And then both of them, Copeland and Ashford and Riston's McGivern, what's her first name? That was who was representing the biological father of my kids.
Right.
um, Lynn Jenkins McGivern.
And they're just
Okay.
used to having all the power. They got all the investigators. They got all the money. They didn't know they're going after one Bitcoin queen.
No,
And
but
like
that's
with
but they knew that.
investigator
But
friends,
they
like
knew
we're
that.
looking right back at
That was
you
the whole
idiots.
thing.
We got all the receipts.
That was the whole thing is, they went after me based on alleged things that happened, which they've never proven to date. And I'm lawyered up, okay, on that SEC case.
Right, right, right.
So I don't get, and I know that Bitcoin was never a security. So what is the SEC doing in Bitcoin when they had no regulations for it and it's not a security,
Just like the
right?
DEA that robbed those people on Oahu who had their full medical license for marijuana, but the DEA is like, well, we got guys and guns. We're going to come and take all your stuff. What are you going to do? I think that's exactly what they did to you and Joby Weeks, right? People know that guy, right? He's
A lot of people
6 years of house
globally.
arrest, and they stole your Bitcoin mining machines. Tried to take your Bitcoin, right? They're asking for your keys, right? Your security keys to open up the wallets.
For him, it was a little bit different. Like they actually they stole Joe's car based on expired safety check, right? Off $150,000 car. Are you
And
there?
said it was a part of a bigger criminal investigation. Completely made
Well, but
up.
that's why we never. But then they took my cold wallet storage key. They put now I can't get to them because I have the keys and I don't have the wallets. But they have the wallets and I don't have the keys. And then there's no Form 48, there's no nothing that the police are supposed to have. And they didn't take it into an impound, they took it to Island Toll,
Hmm.
which is a city and county who's been busted for fraud for
Oh,
years.
so
And
they are
that's,
part of a police racketing thing, maybe?
yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Absolutely, allegedly. Let's
Absolutely.
see what happens with this investigation. Let's keep pulling on this thread.
Well, and that's the thing is like it is scary. Like nobody wants to be in court. Nobody wants to go through this. That's why most people stay out of trouble.
Right?
But they have to figure out how to, how can they stop me because they know they opened up all these cases. I won against them. If you go look up my name, my human trafficking name, and then you come back to Kilian Akana, they tried to use both on the record, so they're really screwed, right?
Right.
But if you go and look up all the family custody cases and the four times that they tried to come after me for custodial interference when I never did anything. I never stole my kids. I never did any of that stuff. It's like the person calling the kettle black was doing it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Accuse the opposition of that which you're guilty of. That's an old, old technique. And that's like they keep falling back on that, these people that work on that side. And yours is not the only case that I've heard here in Hawaii and actually around the country, America, around even in Ireland. Somebody called me and said they're experiencing exactly the same modus operandi, which is where the state will take away a child or children from the parent who's actually got their crap together, doing something good, and give the child to the sex offender or the pedophile, the other parent that is a
Right.
complete
The
piece of
abuser.
crap, the abusive
The
one.
abuser. Yeah.
So yeah, they took your kids by force at gunpoint. Basically, when you bring the cops in, there you got guys with guns coming and taking your kids, and then giving them
Well,
to
not
this asshat.
and not just guys with guns, legitimate terrorists that are hired contract hitmen that are taking funding from the predators as their means of work while saying they're public servants.
Well, yeah, because the whole state itself is illegitimate from the beginning, and then now it's even provably like illegitimate with the election fraud and everything like that.
Right?
Like how much evidence do we need to see, guys?
Well, and that's the whole thing about a lot of people. They want to see a lot more evidence, but they don't want to handle the child that's been raped. They don't want to. They want to condemn everybody, every person that got the drugs from the drug dealer. It's all their fault. They don't understand oppression. They're privileged because they're here through privilege,
Mm,
right?
mm.
Is like elevated, and so they have no empathy and sympathy for the genocide that's been committed on the Hawaiian people. They're a part of it. So if they give up paradise, then they got to go back to where they fled from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the dark cave that they were spawned out of, wherever that was. Some crack in the ground that smells like sulfur. Right?
So, and just like you, I mean, yes, across the world. I mean, Shoshana, she was in Australia when all the COVID stuff was happening. And as you know, I've been banned I was shadow banned for about a year on Facebook. And then I was completely banned off of Facebook and Instagram because I was just sharing way too much during that timeline about the VAERS reports and, how what is it? Uh, what is the big pharma, the WHO was changing, you know, the documentation of all of this mRNA and
Right. Change the
XYA
definition of
research.
herd immunity and like, yeah, trying to bribe us with hamburgers and weed. Yeah, I'll give you free
Have,
weed and hamburgers if you just inject this stuff into your arm. Who knows what's in it?
right. I'll give you a Krispy Kreme donut. That was
Yeah.
that was
You gotta be so dumb to fall for that. Sorry, folks. Like, for real?
and
What
you
do
were
they
there,
tell you?
Angie,
Don't
when
take candy from a stranger?
you're the one that invited because I voluntarily did things that a lot of people don't know because they weren't there, so they don't know, right?
Oh,
But
like
you
that
and
time
I,
you won a Medal of Honor for rescuing a child trafficking victim? Yeah, a lot of people
uh,
didn't
you
know
know,
that. I've seen the
several
medal.
people,
I've held it in my hand.
and then to do the stuff like where she'll be uninjected. She was filing a suit, against the governor, the lieutenant governor, the mayors, all
Yes.
of these people for crimes against humanity and GMOs and Monsanto and all this stuff. And you were with me when we served Mayor Kawakami in Kauai. And
Yeah.
then I came back here and I told you I'd finalize and do my trips, and then I served Josh Green. And 4 days later, I'm being attacked, and he knows he knows that I know. He knows that I know so much about his convid scam and putting people on
Yeah.
H3, and
Well, you
he
remember
can't
when
go.
we went to Waipio Valley with BJ Penn, right? Because he's got,
Right, what they all did to his dojo.
yeah, his dojo got burned down, and he's like, yeah, real funny coincidental timing, right? As soon as he put in his name to run for governor, then like his dojo burns down in a very private location. That you
Like
gotta like
a
really
very
know this dude to know where his secret
like you gotta
dojo
have a
is.
helicopter. You gotta have a
Yeah,
helicopter
you gotta
being
have like
burned
a
out.
helicopter to get there, basically, or be able to ford the river and not catch dysentery on the way. No, it's a beautiful, clean valley. But yeah, like it was crazy, and he said that like Josh Green kind of winked at him of the day after that, and like he's like, "Oh, okay, Josh. Hmm.
Well,
Nobody's
that's the
accusing
thing. It's like,
anybody of anything here on the podcast, but and I can't speak for BJ, but
well, we can
yeah,
only
I
speak to
think
what we
that
were
Josh
there
Green
for.
maybe had something to do with that.
Well, I mean, look at all the other people that they killed or attempted to kill, between 2020 and 20 during the Biden administration, right?
Yep.
And then during I mean, look at what happened to all the 2022 candidates, right?
Mm.
They were robbed from the very first primary in the very first box because it was exact opposite than their state rules for elections, and
Speaking of
everybody got screwed.
candidates, we don't have any. Do we have any good candidates in Hawaii at all? Like on any
Well,
level?
right now, the only person that I would advocate for that's put their name out there for anything is Mageso, who's running for the mayor of Kauai.
Yes. Oh,
And
that's right. And we said we were going to try to call him and add him to this podcast. You want to try?
sure, and I'm gonna also try to add Gilda because she's
Okay.
international, but she was here when all of this stuff was going on,
Yeah,
and
I
so let me
met
try to
her
add her
at
where you
a
can add him.
rally outside the wave pool, I think, when there was the protest against creating a wave pool on Oahu over the bones of the
Oh,
ancestors.
you mean where I got? That's where they actually listed me as a terrorist for being a Hawaiian Kingdom activist for holding a sign that got onto the news that said
Real men
real
ride
men
waves.
real waves instead of that. Yeah, that
Wow.
was my private security team came back and told me all about that. And I was like,
You're a terrorist.
whoa.
How could you?
How can you hold a sign and say
Yeah.
real men ride real waves? I'm
Because
hurt.
you strike fear into the hearts of all the sissies that can't ride a real wave.
I ride real waves. I go down to Makaha.
Right?
I used to, like when I grew up, I was a North Shore, been a Makaha person. But see, none of them remember me because when you're gone for 20 years, and then you come back and you think you're retiring, and then you find
Mm-hmm.
out you're Hawaiian, and then you meet the Uncle Bumpies and the Mamo Streets and the Kingdom, and then this faction and this faction and that faction and then OFHA,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're trying to figure out all the components that these deceitful liars continue to manipulate the language, the story, even in the English language, manipulated the stories of how things happen. And so, you know, at the end of the day, we're on the ground. And I think that's very important for people to understand wherever you're at, the people has to start handling the pedophiles. The people have to start walking away from the pedophiles. The people have to stop supporting them, paying taxes and tied to the pedophiles.
Yeah.
And get
That's it.
together in communities
And
that
when we
say,
all
hey, we want
stand
pedophile
together
free.
on one issue, whatever that issue is, the weight just counterbalances everything. And like when we all peacefully gathered around every airport in Hawaii, then suddenly the mayor and then Lieutenant Governor Josh Green were ready to meet with us. Good morning. We got Megeso Dennis on the island of Kauai running for mayor.
Yes, and this
How's
is the
it?
only
How's
person
it?
so far. The only
Aloha.
person so far that we are advocating for voting for and donating. So many of you direct message from me yesterday, probably about 200 of you got a direct message with his website. This is the gentleman. And so go give him some talking time. Andrew, I'll let you interview him and all of that stuff and maybe, ask Megeso questions so that people can get to know him.
Cool, cool. Well, welcome, Megeso. Yeah, Megeso was with me in Calais. We got the three of us right here when we went and served Mayor Kawakami, communist of Kauai, for crimes against humanity as part of Shelby Hosanna's Team Humanity lawsuit with the Unjected platform. Well, founder of Unjected platform. But yeah, Megeso, how are you, sir?
Well, I'm doing quite well, uh, considering all the corruption that takes place in the islands.
Right? Yeah, that is the
This
name
is
of today's
this
episode.
this is why I'm running for mayor. I mean, when I came to Kauai over 14 years ago, I came from working in New York City most of my life, and I said, well, I need to go to the Garden Island, and I did. And when I first came here, it was beautiful, seeing all the sacred sites, meeting all the culture and the people, and really blending in and feeling great. And then all of a sudden, like overnight, things started to change. I started to see the corruption in the government, special interests taking over, land grabs, non-governmental organizations moving in, the UN agendas 21, 30, 50, all taking place. And I went, oh my God, this is not right. They're turning the Garden Island into, well, it's Sin City, uh, where they don't care for the people. They only care about corporations. And so it's time to start speaking truth to light. So that's when I started posting laws.
Yes, so I've been trying to connect with and learn from as many learned law scholars as I can. Thank you to Calais for taking me around Hawaii to meet a lot of people, and you are one of the most learned people I have ever met, sir. So yeah, thank
I
you
guess
for teaching me everything that you've been. Well, I know it's hard to teach me, but you're doing great so far, in my opinion. But so yeah, you started posting laws because people were tricking us or trying to trick us into thinking mandates were laws, and then you decided also to run for mayor. So as mayor, what are you going to do? Like, how are you? Well, I guess you don't have to tell us all your secrets, but What are you going to do when you become mayor? How are you going to end this BS?
Oh, pretty much we have to reverse all the policies that were implemented during COVID and before. So, and we look at when you mention mandates, uh, our county officials, they make law, so they should know the law, and they should have known mandates are not law. So part of my platform in the People First and Kauai First movement is to educate people primarily on your rights.
Mm.
So your retained rights, as they're referred to, are rights that come from your creator of many names. So we're not talking about a specific religion or anything like that. It's creator's law,
Mm.
which is also natural law. Those rights cannot be taken away by another or given to another because there were not governments in the first place to take or give.
So let me unpack that for the atheists out there. This is good for you atheists too, because that means that there is no power higher than whatever creator you may or may not believe in, that the government is not the ultimate power.
Right.
Right? That's what that translates to for you, that you have innumerable and unalienable rights. No one can put any debt on you. All right. So yeah, so you're bringing back
So,
actual law. Sounds like.
so, so then when you break that down, the Hawaii State Constitution, the United States Constitution, and Hawaii Kingdom Popiana also protect unalienable, God-given, and natural rights. That's their primary function. So when they locked us down and told us to mask up and social distance and get vaccinated, all those things, that is not their right to impose those things because those constitutions are not waived or forfeited, even in the time of war or a perceived or a real pandemic,
Mm.
because there are natural freedoms to make our own choice.
Oh, so like Josh Green just consistently announcing emergencies, state of emergency, and suspending laws, like our founding fathers kind of foresaw that and said, Is that what I'm hearing here?
Yeah, all that is manipulation and fear mongering. And we all know that disasters and fear and all that, that's a great way to enslave people even further.
Mm.
And then when they have a disaster, that's when more NGOs get created, more special interests get created. Because what do they want to do after a disaster? They ask for money to rebuild the infrastructure, right?
Right.
Just look, so look at Lahaina. Even the flooding, all these different things are connected. So if they rebuild the infrastructure, they're going to rebuild it under the UN agenda, under the NGOs, under the special interests.
Mm.
This is an opportunity for smart cities to get expanded, for example. Okay?
Yeah,
And
and they
where
don't
we
they
own
have that in their general plan or whatever?
exactly. So these things have already been designed and planned for. One of my biggest frustrations in listening to law and stuff like that, when people go to give testimony, is those decisions are already made.
Mm.
So when you give your testimony, all they're doing is checking off a box. We allowed the public to give testimony.
Yeah.
How
Oh,
many
well, there's
times?
another checkbox list too. They're putting your name on a list.
Right. So how many times does the people's will get implemented?
Yeah, like
Very
zero,
rare.
zero
Yeah,
percent.
zero or
Zero,
next to none.
zero since I've been home in Hawaii.
Yeah, I always tell my
Exactly.
friends here if petitions worked in Hawaii, then all the Hawaiians would have their land back by now. Carl Dix
Exactly.
from Clean House Hawaii, welcome to the party, sir.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good
Carl.
morning. What's happening?
We were just listening to Megeso talk about how he's going to fix things up on the island of Kauai when he gets elected as mayor.
So,
Okay.
Um, how about you, Carl? Are you going to run for mayor? I know that those guys are deathly afraid of you doing that. I'd love to see it.
2028. Yes, I am.
All right, fantastic. So you've been sued
and
by the state of Hawaii for practicing law without a
no, no, no,
license or something like
no,
this.
threatened. They're not going to make me the defendant. I can't even get a parking ticket.
Oh, they're too scared to mess with you, so they tried to bully you. It didn't work out for them.
No, it doesn't
And they
work
tried
out.
to arrest Calais, counter guilty with 12 jurors, but still Calais walks free. I guess that judicial notice thing is a powerful thing, huh?
Yes, it is.
So yeah, how about if we get like a little back and forth between you and Megeso, two of my personal heroes in law here in Hawaii. I'd love to be the fly
Okay,
on the wall to listen to you guys go back and forth, talk story.
sure, sure. That sounds good.
All right,
How's it going,
so
McGinslow?
We're good, Kyle. Thank you. And you?
I'm hanging in there, still causing trouble, making waves, causing ripples.
Don't use the word hanging.
Well, I, yeah, I'll refrain from expanding on that.
I mean, we could we could
Oh,
just we could just start with the term misprision. So misprision
sure.
under Title 18, Section 4, as well as other titles, is when people are witnessing a crime or a felony of any kind being committed, it's their obligation to report that crime to
Yes.
a court, to a judge, to a court, to somebody in law. And if they don't, then they're complicit in that crime and should be held
Absolutely.
accountable. And should be held
Yes.
accountable. So one of the biggest things that I want to do is bring accountability. People talk about transparency. Anybody can say, I'll be the most transparent mayor on the face of the earth. That's not going to fly. Everybody says that.
hmm.
I'm about accountability. So if I
Yeah.
make a mistake or do something, I want to be held accountable for it. So
Yeah.
these politicians that are selected, some elected, who keep implementing the same policies that are serving themselves and not the people, and have been party to these crimes, especially during COVID and before. We can get into other issues. Should be held
Yes.
accountable for those crimes. They should not be promoted, get to run another 4 years in government.
Yes. And that's a great point because you bring up that even if they did not, if they were not involved in the crime or the event, and they become aware of it and they do nothing, then they're complicit and they're just as guilty.
Correct.
And well, that's right. I put them all on notice, and pretty much everybody in the big square building has been put on notice that the homeless is a complete fraud. The judicial system is a complete fraud and fake, and they've done nothing. Not one peep out of anybody.
Well, it shows you
Not
how
even.
deep it shows you how deep
Yeah.
the corruption is.
Yeah.
And
And not only that, nobody is disputing what I filed. Nobody disputes what I say. They just try to ignore it. Well, that doesn't work.
well, there's a saying, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, that's for sure.
No.
But it could be painful also.
Yeah. So to me, it's not the time for words; it's the time for action.
Yep,
And
I agree.
so we look at just this the misinformation and disinformation campaign. So if we look at Title 18, Section 1035, for example, and Title 18, Section 1040 and 1038, they'll tell the story of the COVID crimes of
Oh yeah,
misinformation, disinformation, and all that. So
yeah,
again, the reason these things don't get, we need platforms like this because
yeah.
our newspapers, our television stations here in Hawaii are not going to report the facts. They're not going to report the truth. And that
No,
keeps the majority of the people in the dark because they
yeah,
don't understand the law. And that goes back to those basic things that I said earlier. They don't even understand their retained rights, their unalienable God given rights, their natural rights. And what comes under natural rights? medical freedom, parental authority, freedom of choice. That's fundamental. And
Yeah,
this is what our
restriction of government entities.
and this is what our government is trying to take away. Every right, turn every right into a privilege.
Yes, and this latest tool that they've been using since 2020, it's all in violation of the statutes that they wrote. The
Correct.
Emergency Powers Act, the the politicians, the mayors, are not supposed to be running that. It's supposed to be a committee that's appointed to take care of that stuff. Not each individual mayor, not each individual, or not the governor. It's supposed to be a committee. Who's on that committee? When I first came upon that, the committee was basically empty in 2020.
Right. The
So
fundamental
yeah, they don't even follow their own rules.
well, that's how we beat them. We use our own rules against them. But
Exactly.
the fundamental duty of the governor and the mayor is to protect all people's rights under their authority, if you would, which is limited authority because governance
Yes.
belongs to the people. Okay, so they're supposed to be protecting your health, safety, and welfare, your life, liberty, property, and pursuit of happiness. They do none of that.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
all they're
And,
doing is doing that for special interests, NGOs, and the United Nations, and
oh,
other
of course.
and other foreign interests. So
Yes.
we actually don't even have a legitimate a law body, if you would, because
No, we
the
don't.
because the lawyers are still under the bar. They're still under the
Which
British
is
Accredited Regency.
which is a private corporation club.
Correct. So
Yes.
when
Not
people
a
talk
branch of the
about
government.
not a branch of the government, the IRS is not a branch of the government.
Nope.
It's part of the International Monetary Fund. So we have all these taxes, all these
And
restrictions put on us by government to enslave us even more because they don't educate the people on their fundamental rights, their enumerated rights, their constitutional rights, and their God given rights, which we
I
all
agree.
have and were given to us at birth.
Yeah. And they're not limited to what we've been told either.
Yeah, innumerable.
Yeah, our rights are. Yeah, our rights are.
Oh, we lost Carl. Are you there, Carl?
I'm here.
You said our
Yep,
rights
I'm
are,
here.
and then you kind of cut out on my end.
Oh, unlimited and unrestricted. For the most part, the restriction is put upon government.
So
Correct.
it
The
sounds like
restrictions.
we've got a wave starting to roll here in Hawaii that there are people that do know clearly how things are supposed to be and are and I've known you guys for a few years now, so obviously you're not going away. You're not going to be bullied. You're not going to bow down. So we need to make you guys too big to rig. I think that was a lesson, and a lot of people don't like Donald J, but he's teaching us some lessons, guys, and one of them is to get candidates that are too big to rig.
Yeah,
So
That's
if you know
correct.
any other great candidates that really should be there, I know one, Tara Malia or Tara Malia on Oahu. I hope we can help her to become too big to rig. I hope mentioning her name doesn't put a target on her. Sorry, Tara. But yeah, I mean,
Well,
she's already put her name
I,
out there, so she knows
yeah.
the
I
risks.
Well,
created
and
I, I created a document a little while ago called the Clean Instrument,
The clean instrument,
and
yes.
a clean instrument is basically for Hawaii is giving notice, declaration, and resolution of the people. So the document itself is operative notice, which means it's present and continuing. So what we do in that document, we give notice to the people and the government of what about our rights. Then we talk about the Declaration of First Principles. And then we get into common law, natural law, and Hawaii continuity. So when you look at that portion, that talks about or references the laws of nature and of nature's God, the common law, constitutional supremacy, due process and consent. And it's a living continuity of the Kingdom of Hawaii, Kopaiana. Then we get into the supreme law and the controlling recognition. Well, the controlling recognitions that are reflected and protected but not granted are the Declaration of Independence, 1776, the Constitution of the United States and its amendments, Article 6, Clause 2 of the Supremacy of Law, the Constitution of the State of Hawaii, the Kingdom of Hawaii, Kopaiana, and Marbury versus Madison, 1803. And then we reference the interpretation and construction of that law and get into resolution. And then we let them know it's a continuing effect. And then there's a declaration of status. And the people say, yes, I agree. I have retained rights or unalienable creator rights and natural rights and all those things. Then it's supported by the Hawaii People's Scroll, where we actually start to get into the nuts and bolts of what we're talking about. So the clean instrument is like, call it like the town crier in the beginning of the United States when they first uh, during the Revolutionary War. So the People's Scroll again gives operative notice, present and continuing, common law and doctrine, controlling irrefutable truths, supreme law and recognition, and formal notice of cease and desist. Now we're telling them to cease and desist interference with bodily autonomy of medical choice, compulsory medical procedures, testing, tracking, or surveillance, restriction of religious or philosophical liberty, usurpation of parental authority over Ohana, governance by propaganda or coercion, suppression of speech or testimony, destruction or contamination of land, water, or air, unlawful seizure of property, interference with right to travel by vessel of choice. And then we get to the declaration of not consent. We do not consent, we do not contract, we do not waive, we do not forfeit, we do not surrender, we do not concede jurisdiction. And then we put them on notice of trespass and liability to let them know if they continue to usurp and infringe upon these rights given to us by our Creator of many names, as well as the constitutional rights in place of the United States, of Hawaii, and of the kingdom, that they can be held accountable in their individual and official capacity. So when you get into law, when you get into criminal law, they use maritime. When you're in civil law, it's land law. So now they got to follow the supreme law of the land. Okay, this is a big area that people miss. So then we get into the interpretation and construction of that, and the people sign or authorize. We don't sign, we authorize that this is what we're saying, you to cease and desist. And then we give them a third piece of document called the General Memorandum of Law to remind them of their sworn oaths to protect all the things that I briefly just outlined. Now they're on public notice because this is a public document. So I posted this on Kauai and many places. They've been posted on Big Island. I believe they've been posted on Oahu and Maui, where now it's part of the public record. So at any time they infringe or usurp upon any rights, we have the right to then take action. We're offering resolution, say, just stop doing it. We're being peaceful. Stop doing it. But if you're going to continue to trample on us, we're not going to stand back.
Do we
We're going
call
to take
that the
action.
FAFO policy?
Yeah, you could call it
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I'd like to get a copy of that document. It sounds really good.
Well,
The only
I
thing.
haven't.
Go ahead.
I said it's posted on my site, but I'll send
Okay.
you a copy again. And
Okay.
then what's beautiful about those documents is that we then had a deep dive put on it by AI, if you would, to
Okay,
find
real
any
quick
holes
though,
in this.
Megeso, what is your site? I'm gonna put a little scrolling banner for people to be able to load it up, if you don't mind.
Well, you can go to www.megasoformayor.com
Number
and
four
under
or
public
FOR?
FOR and under public information, you'll find these three documents that I just referenced. You
Got
have
it.
to click you have to click on the document name to open it.
Okay. Yep, I'm just putting a little scroller here, and then people will be able to go to your site.
And then you could, if you say, well, I still don't understand it, which is pretty simple, you could then go to YouTube, and there's a video out there where you can type in clean instrument and look for deep dive. It's an audio, not an audio visual.
Hmm.
And they try to pick apart any issues with the clean instrument. Then you can do the same thing for the Hawaii People Scroll, and they try to pick that apart. And then the general memorandum of law. And you'll be amazed at what you hear
Excellent.
because they can't find any holes.
Yeah, and
Cool.
that's what it is, isn't it? It's always like you're having to dance, you're like fencing with word games, and everybody's always trying to find some little angle to like say, nope, the whole thing's illegit because you didn't spell that word right. You know,
And all
something
we're
like
doing
that.
is repeating the laws that they swore an oath to protect. In essence, that's what it's all about.
Right, like how
You
Ed
got
Dowd
you
used the
you created
CAC data
you
to prove
created
that they were committing fraud. Go ahead, Carl.
right.
Well, Carl,
No,
tell
no.
them, Carl, about the oath swearing here in Hawaii.
Which one? The
The
the.
ones that they claim, the ones that they claim they take but don't really take.
Yeah, how they didn't
Oh,
take their oath for 50 years or something.
yeah. HRS. They allegedly repealed HRS 605-3 and 4, when in fact, and as written in the congressional record in the sixth session, they just deleted it. That was the application to be a licensed bar attorney to practice law in Hawaii and the oath to practice law in Hawaii. They just deleted them.
Yeah, because they hadn't gotten caught for their fraud for generations, so I guess they figured they didn't even need to fake it anymore. Why lie under oath if you nobody even checks your oath?
Yeah, and I put them on judicial notice, the less than Supreme Court Hawaii, um, in like case 583, and they chose not to address it, not to discuss it, or they just let it sit there and dismissed or denied me my petition to take the bar exam.
Yeah, you would be too dangerous to the fraudulent power structure if you got your bar license, Carl. That would be very upsetting for many corrupt people who are getting paid a lot of money to do
Well,
evil
what's
things.
in,
Yeah.
what's important to know right now is the bar and the judicial system is being dismantled.
Yeah, so are you talking like on a national level with what Donald Trump is doing? Because I'm seeing hints of that on X.com.
Yes. Well, we won't call it. If we get caught up saying Trump is doing it, then everybody has TDS.
All right.
This is something. This is something that's naturally unfolding,
Okay.
even in a world basis, because the whole world has been held hostage and enslaved by the British Crown, by the Vatican, by corrupt militaries over the years.
Mm.
This isn't anything new. We're moving into the golden age. That's what people need to have faith in. We're moving into a new, call it a new frontier or a new world or a new age where
So, how
all these
esoteric can we
bond.
get today, boys and girls? Because Mageso and I have had some off air, like deep level discussions about the nature and fabric of reality, like the wave and particle duality in world lines and timelines. I mean, do we want to go there? I'm open to it
Well,
if you guys
let,
are.
well, let's just look at a couple of laws for a minute. I want to go back to COVID
Okay.
or in general. Title 18, Section 1035 means false statements relating to health care.
Mmm.
How many false statements were made
Safe and
over the
effective.
last 4 years or more?
Ha.
Safe and effective, right? Peer-reviewed studies, scientific method, all crap.
Yeah.
Okay,
Straight up lies.
so, so these are straight up lies by our government. Title 18, Section 1038, false information and hoaxes.
Mm.
You think COVID was a hoax?
Yep.
Climate change, climate change a hoax? All these, all these propagandas of fear that enslave the people in further fall under Title 1038, Title 18, Section 1038. So this is just dealing COVID. So let's
Yeah.
look at one more. Title 18, Section 1040, fraud in connection with major disaster or emergency benefit.
Oh. Like
Hello.
behind a strong kind thing?
So here you go. You got just those three laws right there. And those are
Uh-oh.
criminal offenses.
Busted.
That's the criminal side. So that criminal side would be under maritime law, but then the people could take it into civil court and bring it under land law, which is a whole different ballgame. So in the case that I have going, I won the criminal case, so you'd think it's impossible for me to lose a civil case. I can't explain it fully right now, but the song and dance being done by the judiciary and the attorneys is really fun to watch if it wasn't so sad.
And it is the song and dance, isn't it?
So my case now is moved to the Ninth Circuit. So I moved out of Hawaii, so to speak, into California.
Which isn't much better.
Well, that's okay, because if the judge rules again, and this is about rights and about what the fraud they committed, especially fraud upon the court.
Mm.
So if the Obama judge rules against me, I have the right of judicial review to review it again, and if they rule the same way, then it would have to go to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Mm.
So now again, we're getting it more into the people's awareness. These are just your basic rights. This is all about. So you're trying to disenfranchise me, which means any sentient being, that we don't have the right to life. We don't have the right to liberty. We don't have the right to pursue happiness. That's what they're saying.
Right? Because, yeah,
That
what they
government
rule for
control.
you is the same ruling for everybody else. It sets precedent, right?
Right. So if we get into the esoteric side of that, or the spiritual side of that, so now you're saying that you guys are God, and now it's obviously good versus evil,
Mm.
which is no different than Sodom and Gomorrah or any other atrocity. So now, believing that we're moving into the new age, people have to stand in their own authority in this manner.
I know you hurt my arm, and I don't know if she got my granddaughter head. You can't. I was gonna miss you, but you stepped over to the side. No, I heard sorry. This.